going on, everybody? I hope everyone's having a fantastic evening, fantastic afternoon, fantastic pre-noon, no matter where you are in the world. I'm Hasan Piker, and this is the Hasanabi broadcast coming to you live from sunny California, Los Angeles, folks. We're live and alive. It's not actually sunny, though. I'm live and alive, and I hope all the boys, girls, and MBs are having a fantastic one because today's a beautiful day. Today's a wonderful day. Today is Wednesday, everybody. It's hump day, ladies and gentlemen. It's Wednesday. Hump day. Folks, this is the part of the broadcast where I tell you about my personal news about what's going on in the world of Hasan Hasanabi Piker in between the time period where I press the stop streaming button and press the start streaming button. But yeah, personal news wise, ladies and gentlemen, I watched Dungeon Meshi last night. That's it. I didn't really do much. Went to sleep, woke up, didn't work out this morning as I normally would, but Kai's getting groomed right now anyway. Did a bunch of calls, did a bunch of media spots, did a bunch of big business deals, you know, just caught up with some shit. Anyway, we'll do everything today. We'll do everything and more. I'm just gonna blast off, okay? Your life was a movie yesterday. I can't believe it, dude. Let's just say it's been a banger week of guests and shows so far. It's only Wednesday and we've had a crazy amount of stuff. Okay, but I will say this: I never in my life thought that I would ever have an opportunity to talk to the Federal Trade Commissioner, like of the Commissioner of the Federal Trade Commission of the United States of America, like the trust buster, the most impactful person literally on the planet in terms of antitrust. And then one of the questions that I asked her directly was like, what's the deal? You think you're going to stay on? You think Biden will give you a lifeline? And like virtually 10 minutes after that conversation ended with her, Donald Trump came out and was like, yeah, she's no longer going to be the FTC head. Like, we have a new one. And I don't know if it's because like Trump is watching, probably not, but it did make me feel some type of way. No, my interview did not get her fired. Okay, calm down. It is wild though. Did you mention Brett Cooper leaving the Daily Wire? I covered it yesterday, and I will talk about it a little bit more today as well. She is leaving the Daily Wire, and something that's really interesting about that, I think it was Matt Lech that spoke on it. I saw it on the timeline. Someone tweeted a very interesting thing about that, where they were like, notice how left media doesn't have these like contract negotiation time dramas. Like end of the year, there's always like some sort of like weird shakeups happening. Like it was Steven Crowder, you know, it was Steven Crowder before. Interesting how media shakeups happen around this time. Yearly contracts start expiring. Remember last year, Candace Owens was feigning anti-Zionism and Crowder was taking big con the year prior. Wonder if these sorts of career concerns ever influence lefty media behavior. That was a great take, honestly, from Matt Lech. Lech or Lech? It is truly interesting that that Brett Cooper is the most prominent media figure, the most prominent media personality of Daily Wire. Like straight up. If you look at her numbers, Brett Cooper is popping off. She's been carrying the Daily Wire. And I think that you're the Brett Cooper of the left. Okay, first of all, they literally ripped my shit and restructured in a very fake format the thing that I've been doing for years, but this time in an inauthentic way. But it doesn't matter because like they still popped off. They were able to do it in a very successful way. Like I will recognize that. Does the Young Turk stuff count as left contract stuff? I don't know. I don't know if DYT has like the same contractual situations. Maybe. But like, you know, this kind of stuff happens for sure, but I think for many people, it's ideology that keeps them going, right? It's like the ideological goals that keeps them going. But obviously, if you're on the right, you don't really necessarily care. There's like they're failed actors, stuff like that, Anyway,
Some
I'm
of
going
you
to pee.
have
I'll
heard
be
the
back.
rumors online, and the rumors are mostly true. Today, December 10th, will be my last day hosting the comment section and working for the Daily Wire. It is not true that I am being forced out. It was my own choice to leave. And believe me, this is bittersweet. I have had the most unbelievable 3 years helping to craft the show, building this community, and telling stories and sharing the truth every day. Through the comment section, you all have made me braver, more articulate, more thoughtful, more hopeful than I could have ever imagined. And I'm grateful that we spent this time together. And I'm grateful that the Daily Wire gave us a platform to grow this community. But at this point in my life, I am ready to take on a new direction, both personally and professionally. This means new challenges and new endeavors, which I will share with you soon. As for this show, the comment section will continue with the Daily Wire. My producer, Reagan, is taking over as host of the comment section, and I wish her and the Daily Wire all the best. We have had 3 great years, and I am proud of what we've accomplished together. Leaving this show and the platforms that we've built is hard, but I'm very excited for what's to come. Knowing that we have brought so many people together in laughter over these last 3 years means the world to me. I appreciate all of you, so let's chat again soon. But in the meantime, go touch some grass, kick some rocks, and we'll catch up shortly. And now for some final thoughts from the God King himself, Jeremy Boring.
Bittersweet indeed. We're sad to see Brett go, but we're excited to see her take the next step in her journey. Brett's an amazing talent, both as a personality and as an actress. It's been a pleasure to see her bring the comment section to life these last 3 years, and her performance.
She has better camera angles and lighting than you. Yeah, no shit. She has like a straightforward professional setup. Like, you guys are comparing my independent, individual operation to a multi-million-dollar structure. Okay? Like, they are a multi-million-dollar company. I think Ben Shapiro is worth like $50 million, dude. I mean, they were offering Steven Crowder. They're so much larger than just like a couple million. Are we crazy? Did we forget that Steven Crowder was offered by the Daily Wire a straight up $50 million contract? And he said, this is slavery. Here it is. Far-right blowhard calls 50 million Daily Wire offer a slave contract. It's also not a better setup for what she is doing or what you are doing. You're doing a live stream. It's supposed to be a real person in a real house expressing their opinions. That's exactly what your setup indicates, whereas hers shows you that it's completely made up. Yeah, but that's the difference. Like, for the average onlooker, like, they don't care. Especially conservative audiences tend to be a little bit older too. And they don't give a shit. Like, they like it. I think, like I said, she presents a softer face. In my opinion, she presents a softer face on like right-wing commentary. She covers cultural issues and things like that. And there's definitely an audience for it. And that's why she's been popping off. She's been popping off harder than Ben Shapiro has on the Daily Wire broadcast, which is part of the reason why I think she wanted to go solo dolo.
In the Pendragon cycle is sensational. I'm certain that whatever Brett creates next will be filled with the same joy and laughter and heart that she's brought to all of her work at the Daily Wire. And we wish her nothing but the best.
So, my friends, while I have you here, I thought we could run it back one last time with the comment section. And last night, I was sitting at my laptop, literally racking my brain, trying to think about what would be the perfect last episode. I mean, there was so much that happened over the weekend that I desperately wanted to talk to you about.
She's definitely fetishized too. I mean, I can't speak on that, but I'm sure there is that. For, like, it makes sense. It is a misogynistic audience. I think a lot of ladies probably like her too. There's a lot of older men that like her. There's a lot of ladies that like her. She's literally pretending to be a teen. It's weird as fuck. Yeah. I had a nasty 60-some-year-old alcoholic patient watching her on his iPad in the hospital, Lamau. Do you think Ben and the Daily Wire are in cope mode over this? I mean, I would be if I had like a media franchise and I lost my fucking star because I did not retain her talents by offering her a pretty solid contract, then yes, I would absolutely be a little bit shaken by it. You know what I mean? Have we discussed whether she looks like Ben Shapiro because of her views or if she has her views because she looks like Ben Shapiro? No, I think she was like a failed actress. And therefore she just kind of look like that. I don't think she had these views from the jump. I think like this is the failed actress route. With Ben Shapiro is like he was a failed writer, but he also kind of had these views from the jump. But I do suspect that she will be, if she tries to be authentic, I suspect that she'll be less conservative broadly. But if she wants the hits, if she wants the clicks, if she wants the grift, she's going to have to be a lot more aggro and a lot more overtly right wing. So we'll see. Are you telling me she's not related to Ben Shapiro? I know it sounds insane, but she's not related to Ben Shapiro. But yeah, for the record, like with all the cutesy nonsense, like she's still over here talking about like how Jordan Neely deserved to be executed for being a scary nuisance. Okay, just so you understand, it's not like it's not like she's a nice person. She just has the aesthetics. She presents the aesthetics of like a softer, gentler approach. Yeah, Brett's fans were all creepy old men fawning over a hot young girl streaming from her bedroom. That show was never about Brett giving actual political analysis. It was about using a cute young girl to reassure how right and in touch old conservatives are. There's a reason all the guys on Daily Wire have desks in offices and sets and smoke cigars where Brett is a colorful children's bedroom as hers. Yeah, I think they wanted to make inroads with a younger audience. And like I showed yesterday, she did. I don't think she made inroads with a younger audience necessarily, but she did definitely have, get a lot of play. She was kind of carrying the franchise a little bit. Like she was the Daily Wire's most successful entity. Why didn't she stream? Seems like they tried to emulate streaming, but it was all scripted. Yeah. I think it's really interesting that that like what I've been doing, and this isn't like me gassing myself up. Like we saw this with Turning Point USA and other right-wing groups when they had like their documents leaked. They openly were talking about having like emulating what I do. And this is the process. Like they literally were like, let's make a show of someone who is like fake streaming from their bedroom or from their living room, whatever, in an identical fashion to what we've seen with other successful media products in the political sphere. This, which is crazy. That means that they're not only watching, but also, you know, they're emulating it. Some Nazi iCarly shit. Yeah. Except for, I guess, live from Buckingham Palace.
We're actually here. I think they thought we were faking when we said that we were going to be at, look behind us, Buckingham Palace.
We are here.
The day of the coronation. How exciting.
Wow. Both of the girlies that are no longer with the Daily Wire. Look at that. Both of the girlies. They have.
Yes, you are correct, Kate Middleton. She looked absolutely. There was a woman bishop, which was very.
Right out here, actually. I don't know what they were protesting.
Probably the king.
Probably. British, but I think it's very cool to see how different countries come together.
Fashion faux pas. She wore this.
They did a 10-minute live stream. That's crazy. And then also on top of that, like rating the memes with the original meme lord.
I haven't really ridden recently, but we do need to do a horse girl video at some point. Okay, moving on. Okay. That's good. That looks like every person that I react to in a TikTok. This is basically every person.
This is so shit, dude.
I don't really care if you guys see my screen. I don't have anything incriminating on this. What is that?
You guys don't remember this?
I don't remember this.
No. Am I supposed to know?
No.
It's a good reaction meme, though.
Yeah.
They were I think it was the Golden Globes, and someone on.
This shit is ass. No wonder they have. No wonder the.
Welcome back to the comment section.
This is no wonder this is like obviously a very clearly streamlined process that they made. Twitch experience both for boomers. Yeah. I can radicalize Candace. I'll fix her. She just needs to give me a chance. Okay, stop. Candace Owens is radicalized all on her own. Trust. Okay. She's radicalized in a different direction. and not in a direction where you can do anything with that. I wonder if am I still blocked by Clandis? Oh, maybe she unblocked me. Oh no, I am still blocked, but I can now see people beyond the block. Shouts out to Twitter for that. Making an important announcement today on the show. I've been joined by a most special guest to discuss that announcement. This will be the most important piece of content I've ever shared. It premieres in 38 minutes. You think she's going to link up with Brett Cooper? I doubt it. Because the way I see it is like Clandis is I mean, she's too toxic. You know what I mean? She's like entirely too toxic. She pops off. Like she also does really well. Okay. She does really well. Make no mistake. Like she is overtly anti-Semitic, but more importantly for the conservative movement, it's not the anti-Semitism that's a problem. That much is clear. They literally hired her knowing full well that she was anti-Semitic. She's also an anti-Zionist on top of that. She's anti-Semitic, but also anti-Israel. And that's a bridge too far. That's completely unacceptable. And she got fired for it from the Daily Wire for that reason. So I don't think someone like Brett Cooper, unless they are ideologically committed to presenting themselves or collaborating and aligning with like someone who is an overt anti-Semite, I doubt that she will do that. Does that make sense? But maybe I'm wrong. I have noticed that like there is definitely a lot of motion on right-wing commentary, but like not in the original, not in the OG right-wing commentator sphere. There's a lot of motion outside of that. If I were to put this on a spectrum of right-wing sentiment to get back to the Brett Cooper situation, you have the Daily Wires that are on a downtrend, okay? You have the Daily Wires that are on a downtrend. You have the Steven Crowders that are dying, right? Like they're done, they're cooked. But then there's a crop of like much edgier, much more insane right-wing content creators out there, like the Candace Owenses of the world and the Tyler Hitler Veras of the world. And even someone who like Asmongold, who have leaned into this like I like the Tyler Oliveras of the world attitude. And those guys are popping. Like they are putting insane numbers on the board. They're putting numbers on the board like I've never seen before. You know what I mean? Like it's a little bit meta chasing in the case of Asmongold, I would say, because I don't think he has like a coherent, consistent world view that revolves around, you know, consistently hitting like right-wing talking points. But it's like, I mean, look, the shock of truth we just found out, CEO killer. Like his company suddenly no longer care about DEI after Trump's win. 1 million views. Like he's always had a relatively socially conservative bent when it comes to like DEI, woke shit, wokeness in video games. And he has found a comfortable space in talking about, like, you know, right-wing politics in general. But yeah, it's, you know, this stuff is banging. Like his like super basic right-wing, like, look how stupid the liberals are content is popping off. Now, having said that, outside of that space, like the Candace Owenses of the world are popping off as well. A lot of people also in the podcast sphere, are, you know, they're getting tremendous play. All the top podcasts are incredibly right-wing. You got Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson. Like, I'm not even talking like regular old Republican right-wing. I'm talking like Christian nationalists, openly saying like insane, hysterical shit about Christianity, leaning into overt anti-Semitic sentiments. So it's bad. It's not good, folks. It's bad. Some of them are connected with the manosphere. A lot of those manosphere guys are also, in the way that they are leaning, a lot of those manosphere guys and the way that they're leaning into like right-wing commentary, they've also increased the stakes a lot, you know? All the while, we're still here. Anyway, let's get started with the Lina Khan situation. I'm going to run this Donald Trump 20 minutes after my interview with Lina Khan decided that he would not have Lina Khan as the Lina Khan would not continue her tenure as the commissioner of the FTC.
Donald Trump announced yesterday that he was picking current FTC Commissioner Andrew Ferguson to lead the agency, which is obviously now helmed by Lina Khan, who we cover a lot on this show. Ferguson is kind of a known figure for people who follow these types of things. But let's go to the next element here. This is Trump appointing Andrew Ferguson.
This was being circulated by his allies. Ferguson. There's some question as to whether or not Ferguson himself was circulating this, but certainly his allies were circulating this. And if you're just watching it, if you're just listening to it and not watching it, Emily, this is kind of not great if you like Lina Khan.
Yeah, it's a big chunk of text, but it says, successfully fought to end the Biden FTC's anti-business policy of refusing to end merger investigations early and allow firms to close their deals as soon as the FTC finds no competitive harm. Represented Virginia and numerous other states in a landmark antitrust suit against Google's ad tech monopoly. So I just want to note those two things being literally together in the bullet points. This is the nuance of the right's opposition to Lina Khan. There are some people on the right, including J.D. Vance, who've been very positive about Lina Khan, others who have been sort of in the middle about Lina Khan, and then a third group that are just absolutely opposed to Lina Khan at every turn. Ferguson appears to be somebody in the middle. So like you can see they're bragging there about him being part of the antitrust monopoly suit against Google. I'm sorry, the ad tech monopoly suit against Google. Obviously, it's an antitrust one as well, but and then the next bullet point is about overreach, right? Antitrust overreach, and that's sort of interesting.
Yeah, and that sheet talk, that memo talks a lot about being too tough on mergers. That Lina Khan's too rough on the business community. That they're going to do a lot of deregulation. It's ironic that, and almost poetic and anti-poetic, whatever, that Trump made this move, ousting Lina Khan and replacing her with Ferguson on the same day that one of her most significant victories came through. If you can put up this Fox Business article on the screen next, the Kroger Albertson merger was blocked as a $24 billion merger that Lina Khan had fought, and arguing not just that it would be bad for consumers. There's agreement across the spectrum, even among the kind of pro-business side, that if you can prove that there is going to be harm to consumers, then you can block a merger. That's called the consumer welfare standard. Now, the if you can prove it is the part that the pro-business side hangs their hat on and says, and just constantly argues, well, all these mergers are going to be good for consumers. We're going to give you lower costs, and look, it's going to be wonderful. Trust us. And then it happens, and then it's not, and it's done. So you're screwed. In this case, she argued that actually, additionally, the FTC, and going back to its original meaning, when it was created, and so when some of these acts were created that enabled its powers, the power of workers and the well-being of workers matters too. And so she argued that this merger would depress wages, would make it, and would hurt worker power, which is also an interest of the federal government, of the people of the United States, which is kind of a radical take. Like, well, we're supposed to care about workers? What? Yeah, actually, it's in the law. You're supposed to. Here she is, I love this, talking to Hasan Piker on his stream about this.
This decision being blocked, what kind of labor protections does that offer to people that are working at these corporations?
So one thing that our lawsuit alleged was that if this merger goes through, it's going to mean higher grocery prices for shoppers, but it's also going to be worse for the workers.
Ayo,
and this is the
ayo.
first time that
Look
the
who that
FTC
is.
has ever sought to block a merger, not just because it's going to be bad for consumers, but also because it's going to be bad for workers. And, you know, especially in recent decades, antitrust enforcers had not really been focused on the worker harms as much, and that's something we've really looked to change. So the complaint lays out how previously, when there has been competition between Kroger and Albertsons, that the workers at each store were able to use that competition as leverage when they were trying to bargain. And that if you allow these two companies to merge, that leverage that comes
Double
from
Kyle.
having a potential alternative employer or an alternative store where customers can go if there's a strike, but eliminating that leverage point and bargaining leverage would ultimately be bad for workers. So again, this is still being litigated, but that was in the complaint as an explanation for why this merger would be bad for workers. When the FTC team put on the trial, they actually had on the stand some of the workers that are currently employed by these stores so that they could also share their experience. And just generally, I mean, there's a lot of empirical evidence that now shows that after mergers, workers have seen, you know, pay cuts or a limit in any pay rises. You often see layoffs. You can see workers have less negotiation power to figure out, will I even have a stable, predictable schedule? And so, you know, these are all dimensions of competition on the labor front that are important to protect for people.
First of all, it's pretty cool to have an FTC chair that goes on Hasan Piker's stream. We were 4 years in power. It was quite a run. We'll see. We'll see where it goes from here. The big fear among supporters of the kind of Lina Khan approach to FTC was that Melissa Holyoke, who was a commissioner on the FTC, that she would get the chair gig, and she's as hostile as you can get to the kind of Khan-Cantor wing of that bipartisan, transpartisan movement. So the fact that she didn't get it is something. But the fact that somebody got it who says that, you know, that she was too tough on mergers, like the day that she blocked this like huge, because what the Wall Street Journal would always say about her is, oh, she filed another, you know, frivolous BS case that's just going to eat up money, and then when a judge, you know, gets this complaint, he's going to knock it away because you know, this is a child who doesn't even belong in this job, and she doesn't understand how the law works. And time after time after time, the judges are like, these are good points. This merger's blocked.
Well, what she said on Hasan's show there is like, so it's one of the reasons conservatives don't like her is because, as Rachel Bovard has talked about to us and others, is the consumer welfare standard of Robert Bork was gospel on the right for a really long time. Not just the political right, but just sort of the pro-business community for a long time, the consumer welfare standard. And what Lina Khan was saying there is that it's not. And
when we're saying pro-biz, they mean pro-big business.
Yeah.
And also the mergers and acquisitions lawyers who make money on these mergers.
Absolutely. Pro-big business. And the consumer welfare standard is predicated on this idea that consumers will choose to shop at places where they treat workers well. And that is not the case when you have monopolies, right? Like, it's this ridiculous sort of cycle. And Ryan, I just looked this up, actually. We invited Andrew Ferguson to come on a Friday show with Matthew Stoller to talk about conservatives and antitrust policy back in June, and never got a response. So your point about Lina Khan going on the Hasan Piker stream is really interesting, because one of the reasons Khan irked a lot of people in the business community is that she's like she's the new Brandeisian, right? Like, she's actually like very much in the moment, and that was irritating because it was a threat. It's like, this is a popular movement behind Lina Khan.
And she was unafraid to get like media coverage around these actions. Now, I think that if we were to have done her FTC any justice whatsoever, we should have, not us here, but in general, I think that the Democratic Party should have. Ladies and gentlemen, Maya Higa's in the building.
Hello.
We're talking about the federal. We're talking about the FTC.
Should I
What should you come back? No, it's fine. What are your thoughts on trust busting?
This is why.
What do you think about
Come
antitrust?
here like once a quarter.
What do you think about antitrust? Like, what are your thoughts broadly?
I'm going to get a soda.
Oh, what? There's sodas in here. If you want, or you just wanted to use that as an exit. Don't get the Diet Coke. That's just in there because we used to drink it, but we don't anymore because it's BDS. All right, let's get back into the news. All right. At least there's one W for the FTC, despite the fact that Lena Khan is being replaced, and that is the Albertsons merger with Kroger. The judge has temporarily blocked the deal, siding with the FTC. I gotta pee.
In this morning's Money Watch, a proposed mega merger between two of America's largest supermarket chains has been blocked by the courts. Kroger had agreed to buy Albertsons for around $25 billion, but a pair of judges blocked the plan yesterday. And this morning, Albertsons says the deal is dead. It's off, accusing Kroger of failing to overcome government objections. Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady is with us now. Kelly, what happened here?
Well, good morning to you. So, look, we all care about our grocery prices, right? Kroger and Albertsons argued the proposed deal, which would have been the largest supermarket merger in history, is good for consumers. Now, the two companies promised to pay for price cuts through expected cost savings. They also argued it would expand customer choice by better equipping their stores to compete with giants like Walmart, Costco, Amazon. But a federal judge in Oregon chose to temporarily block the deal, siding with the Federal Trade Commission, 8 states, and the District of Columbia. All of them argued the merger would reduce competition and worsen inflation. They also said it would hurt employees since the two companies would no longer be competing for labor. Now, in a separate case, a judge in Washington state came to a similar conclusion, this time permanently barring the merger. Now, remember, Kroger, Albertsons, they each operate more than 2,000 stores across 30 plus states and control other chains like King Soopers and Safeway. The FTC said in a statement the win protects competition in the grocery market. Albertsons warned it might have to lay off workers and even close stores, though, with no deals.
All right, Kelly, thank you.
We are just learning fingerprint comparisons made between prints collected at the scene of the Brian Thompson murder compared with prints taken in the arrest process of Luigi Mangione show a positive match. Two law enforcement officials briefed on the matter have just confirmed to CNN. We're going to have more on that in just a moment. Also, this
it could be anybody. Hey! A total coincidence! Wrong place, wrong time. Everybody calm the fuck down. It's really fucked up. Free my boy Luigi!
Mangione is still behind bars in Pennsylvania
doing?
after a judge denied him bail. Before his court appearance, that was yesterday, he
had gloves? No, dude, he wasn't wearing gloves. No, he quite literally was not wearing gloves.
yelled and struggled against officers once he turned and saw that the media was standing outside the courthouse. And police now say a notebook that they found on him has a so-called to-do list in it from before the killing, as well as a reported reference to deciding not to use a bomb to target the victim so he would...
Bro, this guy literally is a go-getter. Like, I can't believe we are yelling at people now for being go-getters. Like, he's a real type A personality, dude.
Not, quote unquote, kill innocents. Also new this morning, disturbing video of what appears to be wanted posters popping up around New York City for other health executives. All of this as the suspect's lawyer is now speaking out about offers they say they've received to pay from outside to pay for his legal fees.
Obviously, my client appreciates the support that he has, but I don't know. I just, I'd have to look in, but it just doesn't sit right with me, really. The Supreme Court says, you know, all these rich billionaires can give all kind of money to candidates, and that's free speech. So maybe these people are exercising their right to free speech and saying that's the way they're supporting my client.
Joining us
My
right now,
goat.
CNN Chief Law Enforcement and Intelligence Analyst John Miller, CNN Law Enforcement Contributor Steve Moore, also here with me. John, this is your new reporting, and this is a big deal. This is the first positive forensic match that we know of. Walk us through what you've learned.
So, fingerprints collected at the scene of the Thompson murder from a plastic water bottle, from a discarded cell phone, the so-called burner phone, have now been compared against the arrest fingerprints taken by police in Altoona of the suspect. And yesterday they were able to make a match to the prints that they collected at the scene. Not a surprise in some regard, in that they had an individual allegedly with a gun and a silencer and a mask and those things, but it is the first scientific forensic match that joins the growing pile of circumstantial evidence that they can say, well, how else would it be someone if that fingerprint is here and he's there with that gun and so on. Now, there's more, which is DNA evidence still pending, ballistic tests still pending. Part of that is because the gun was recovered in Pennsylvania. To match that to be the same gun, they would have to obtain it, fire it, test it, compare the shell casings and the bullets. But this is a big deal.
It is a big deal because, to this point, that could be one of the things that you could hear from the suspect's attorney saying, you don't know if this is the guy. This wasn't me. We talked about this, right? Like, you could say this isn't me. There's a guy with a mask and this, whatever. But this is.
I think there's something really funny about blurring the faces on the wanted posters of just like CEOs. It's publicly available information. Yeah, just fucking go online. You can figure it out, okay? I know they're trying to delete this information. They're trying to delete the web pages where you can see like the corporate executives of publicly owned companies. But for the time being, you can just straight up see where it is. Now, why are they this worried about the safety and security of the CEOs? If it's just a couple weirdos online that would never feel this way in public, why are they that worried about showing the faces of fucking public CEOs? It's so strange.
Scientific connection, forensic connection between the two. Talk to me more about ballistics. Is it just a logistical kind of obstacle that needs to be overcome in order to get confirmation or not that the ballistics match, do you think? Or
the gun is actually the charge that they are holding him on in Pennsylvania. So that evidence needs to stay with him because they are the ones who have him in custody, and he has not waived extradition, which basically says, I'm not going to New York, where they would then turn over all that evidence to New York City and then have them do those tests. But they understand, they are in it for the long game. They don't need to know that tomorrow or the next day. And it gives them more time to do the background investigation they're still doing, which includes mundane things, but very necessary things like completing the video canvas, tightening up that map where they can show a picture of him almost through every step of his New York journey.
I want to get to more of that, but Steve, let me bring you in on this. Just the importance of what.
Creeps. That's creepy. You don't have to do that. You should stop doing that right now. That's creepy. You know what I mean? That's just weird, man. That's weirdo behavior. Leave him alone. Leave him alone. Ew. There's a word for that. It's illegal. It's called stalking. Okay? Is he going to get the life sentence? Bro, they're going to throw the book at this motherfucker at this point.
Yeah, as we've learned, something can look like a slam dunk case, but a lawyer can find just niches or cracks in any kind of strong case. And what they're doing now is filling up the cracks. They're eliminated any doubt before they go to trial that this is the person who committed this crime. He's already fighting. He's already shown what he's going to do. He's going to fight every single motion, even a perfunctory extradition motion. So he isn't.
This is such a strange thing to say, by the way, because, like, yeah, no shit. Yeah. He should. Everyone should. Like, I don't understand this idea. Like, even if you're fucking dead to rights, even if they got you dead to rights, you still should. Why wouldn't you? The entire system is designed to allow you to get off on process. Like, that's the job of a lawyer. Yeah, it's called exercising your fucking rights, you know?
Going to go quietly on this. So the police are obviously dotting their I's and crossing their T's.
For sure. And John, something that we've talked about, and I guess it still remains, you know, there are so many questions that remain. And I'm wondering if this notebook that we're learning more about kind of adds to this picture is, how did this guy know that the CEO was going to be where he was going to be when he was? So, is that where the line of thinking is in investigating how we learn more about that?
There are clues. I mean, you know it because you've been by there, but that New York Hilton Hotel takes up, you know, half of a full city block. Yeah. It has doors all the way down 53rd Street and all the way down 54th Street, and a front door and a rear driveway. That's like 20 entrances you would have.
Well, I mean, it's too big. It's big then. It's big. He could have just randomly touched a doorknob. You know what I mean?
To cover to know, where is this guy going to enter the hotel? But you would also have to know, what if he is going to enter from this side, because I have learned he's staying at the hotel across the street. How would you know that? He gives us an oblique reference in the 3-page note that we've loosely called the manifesto, where he says, you know, this wasn't that difficult. It was a combination of social engineering and computer-assisted design, an engineer term, CAD he referred to it as. But I think what he's telling us there on the social engineering side is, this is what people do when they create an email, you know, a spoof email or a phone call saying, you know, I have a delivery, which, you know, where do I bring that, posing as somebody else. He's suggesting that he learned intelligence information on his target by doing that kind of thing. But then when you get out of the note and into the spiral notebook, and he acknowledges this in the note as well. He said, you know, my electronics you're going to find are pretty locked down, but in the spiral notebook you'll see to-do lists and other notes. Some of those notes are theoretical notes about targeting and, you know, what is the just way to commit such a crime. He talks about Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, and how if he modeled after him, a bomb in a shareholders conference could kill, you know, innocent people. Same on the street. But he talks about.
It is pretty crazy that every new information that I've heard about this guy it hasn't led me to hate him. You know what I mean? Like, he's clear-eyed. He's like, he has a decent conscience on the matter. He is demure. He's mindful. The media is doing a piss poor job of presenting him as like a bad dude, if that's their goal. I'm telling you, I mean, this is wild, but like, he very clearly was like, I don't want to kill like random people. I want some targets.
About, you know, shooting being the more precise way to take on his target. In one line he says, and what better way to take out the CEO than to shoot him at his own, quote, bean counters conference.
Yep, an investor conference is exactly what you could say that is.
Right.
And Steve, what do you think? There's so much that is coming out. I mean, this reporting from John is most significant about the forensic that they're now positively IDing. What questions do you have that remain now, Steve, and where you would say, you know, leaning on your experience with the FBI, where you think this investigation focuses a lot of its energy now?
Well,
we have to remember, just like Shabiba, all these CNN fucks are millionaires, are making 6 figures yearly. The producers who decide the angle, etc., all are part of the same class. It's not that simple. The shooter himself comes from a very wealthy family. I make more money than the fucking average CNN anchor. There's a difference. They are tasked with undermining the truth. They are tasked with defending the established hierarchy. That's it. Like, she's not a capital owner. She's a wage laborer. Her job is, her job gives her a salaried wage. I think this is more so a matter of like what you're tasked with. Defending capital in the interest of capital, in the interest of corporations, or even just the pre-existing social constructs, and deflecting the attention away from why people are angry is her primary concern. It's not necessarily her her net worth that causes her to feel this way. There are some who operate on that boundary. I think like the likes of Ben Shapiro or whatever. But it's really interesting to think because Bill Burr, also rich. You know what I mean? Bill Burr is a rich guy. He gets it. I'm a well-off guy. I get it. I understand it. I think it's more so about being out of touch with the average person. Or rather, not necessarily being out of touch with the average person, but instead defending the preordained, pre-established hierarchies that you are tasked with defending. So your logic, if you're angry, it gives you the right to kill CEOs. Sick take. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. But I think the coverage of this so far from the media has been, the people are angry, but we don't understand why, and they shouldn't be angry. And even if they are, well, it's just like a marginal number of people that are angry. It's not actually the broader, the larger swaths of society. It's just like random lefties that are yelling. And while I don't think that killing a random healthcare CEO is going to be the solution, or that vigilante justice is good, I don't think that at all. I'm simply more interested in not just looking at this with murder isn't good. I think that's a simple take. I think the more interesting analysis here is to recognize that that person is responsible for tens of thousands of deaths a year, and he gets paid to do that. And the invisibility of that death that is hidden under the way that our systems are designed is important to recognize. But because this kind of death and this kind of violence, this structural violence, is so pervasive that virtually every single American has at least one bad encounter with a healthcare provider, okay, with a healthcare insurance company, that they don't give a fuck that this guy got killed. And I think that's worthy of examination. Understanding why people are upset is worthy of examination. Because we're looking at the singular murder of the CEO, not recognizing that that person, in the eyes of so many Americans, is responsible for the singular murder of their loved one, the pain and torment caused to their loved one, the medical bankruptcy of a loved one, or even themselves. I hope you understand where I'm coming from with this. Instead of taking the most blanket neurodivergent attitude, and being like, Hasan is saying it's fucking awesome. When someone is angry, they should be able to kill the person that has angered them. Do you get it?
You've got a lot of the basic building blocks of this case already being nailed down. What I'd want to do is shore up the areas where you don't have direct knowledge yet, or at least they haven't said they have direct knowledge of the shooter's actions. For instance, before a shareholders conference like this, they're going to be setting up for about a week. They're going to do rehearsals and speeches and stuff. I would want to know where he was. We have cameras and everything on the day of shooting, but I'd like to see cameras around the entrances and find out whether Thompson did the same thing for several mornings, or whether maybe somebody in the hotel actually provided him information. I suspect he went a week early, and I suspect he was doing canvassing and surveillance that entire time.
You know, it's interesting when you talk about that, because that's the backward building of this video canvas. He comes in on the 24th. That's like 10 days before the actual shooting. And where they have tracked him is he comes out of the Port Authority bus terminal and does not go to check into the hostel where he's going to stay. He goes straight with all of his bags to the Hilton Hotel, and he starts doing those walkarounds. But they also have him in a McDonald's, which we now know, I guess, was his preference for hanging out.
I was going to say his preferred stop along the way, for sure. John, thanks for running up and giving us the new reporting. Steve, thank you as always. It's good to see you.
The suspect that is charged in the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, fighting extradition back here to New York. Luigi Mangione appeared in a Pennsylvania courtroom yesterday. You can see him shouting angrily as he entered the building. Law enforcement now focusing on alleged writings by Mangione for clues about a potential motive. We're going to speak to his lawyer in a moment, but first let's go to senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katersky outside the prison there in Pennsylvania with the latest for us. Good morning to you, Aaron.
Good morning, Robin. The 26-year-old suspect is now being held at this prison without bail after fighting extradition and shouting those fighting words that officials now fear could be considered a call to action. An outburst from Luigi Mangione, shackled and handcuffed as he was dragged into court.
As a completely out of touch, as an insult to the intelligence of the American people, and the lived experience.
Sheriff's deputies wrestling him inside. He refused to waive extradition to New York, where he's charged with murdering United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson.
When I entered my appearance, and for the record, he's pleading not guilty to those. And I've seen zero evidence at this point.
The judge denied bail. Mangione kept quiet as he left court, head down. He's a threat to no one, but this morning the NYPD is alarmed by these posters outside the New York Stock Exchange and social media posts suggesting Mangione is a martyr.
We do a lot of work in the online space. As part of that,
yeah, they're blurring the face of the CEOs. I don't know why.
We'll surge resources, protective resources around the city wherever we need to when we're anticipating and dealing with a big uptick in threats.
In a confidential assessment obtained by ABC News, the NYPD says Mangione considered Thompson's murder a symbolic takedown of United Healthcare over perceived corruption, adding the suspect likely views himself as a hero of sorts who has finally decided to act upon such injustices. A copy of the suspect's alleged writings said United Healthcare was among corporations that have simply gotten too powerful, and these parasites simply had it coming. Mangione also referenced a spiral notebook that sources tell ABC News contained writings about the Unabomber, but how Mangione thought explosives could kill innocent people. The writings were found, police say, when Mangione was arrested at this McDonald's, seen eating a hash brown moments before.
Why is there a photo like this available? Like, is this a camera? Is this CCTV? I assume it has to be, right? Like, how did they snap this pic? Oh, it's a body cam? Wait, so cops walked up while he was in the middle of eating his hash brown? That's crazy. Motherfucker was still eating a hash brown while the cops walked up?
My one friend made the comment. He thought it was, he goes, don't.
I feel like it's probably CCTV though.
Don't that look like the shooter from New York?
An employee called police.
The worker that took his order, she said his eyes and his eyebrows. She just thought it was him.
Police say the gun Mangione had looks very similar to the gun used in the murder, capable of firing 9mm rounds and made at least in part with a 3D printer. Earlier, the suspect tried checking into this Altoona motel, but no room was available.
There was somebody that checked in, and the officer goes, did he have a mask on? Did he ever take a mask off? I was like, comes back. No, he never did take the mask off. He says, I'll be down there in 5 minutes to talk to you. We pulled it up on surveillance and sure as stuff, they go, yeah, that's him.
Mangione had been out of touch with his family for months. In November, sources tell ABC News his mother filed a missing persons report in San Francisco. The sources say investigators in Pennsylvania have started interviewing his relatives, perhaps asking about internet posts in which Mangione wrote about back pain, brain fog, and sciatica. Mangione at one point writing, "It's absolutely brutal to have such a life-halting issue." His former roommate in Hawaii said Mangione struggled with a back injury.
Unfortunately, he did let me know that the severity of his back issue was such that it was very difficult to have physical relationships with women, that it made things painful.
Mangione's case has become a cause, with admirers posting videos like this on Instagram. his X page gaining 300,000 new followers.
The person that I knew 8 years ago and the person that he allegedly has become today could not be more different.
A former classmate left stunned.
I've still been in a little state of disbelief that this kid that I knew from high school 8 years ago is now the most high-profile killer, allegedly, in the country. I would never have had anything bad to say about him.
United Health CEO faces backlash after leaked video defense stopping unnecessary care. Yeah, unnecessary care. Dude, people are using too much healthcare in this country. Okay? Too much. Too much of everything is bad. Including too much of anything is bad, you know? Including too much healthcare. You don't understand. Like chemotherapy. United CEO Andrew Whitty just sent a memo to staff, leaked to me, hailing late CEO as one of the good guys who had a profoundly positive impact on the lives of so many people. Whitty adds, he was certainly one of the smartest guys. I think he was one of the best guys. Staff are frustrated with how tone deaf the response has been. Yeah, too much healthcare is irresponsible. Too much profits, on the other hand, not irresponsible. Yeah, also, under Brian Thompson's reign, the denial rate went up. I don't know if these are the correct numbers, but I'm pretty sure they went up. So, unforeseen healthcare bills and coverage denials by health insurance in the United States by the Commonwealth Fund show that some doctors are incentivized to deny care using a click and close policy, which promotes bonuses based on the quantity of cases reviewed and hence incentivizes speedy reviews. I mean, the automated AI process in this should tell you everything you need to know. Please, I work in the field. Look at my messages. There are built-in rejections that they simply hope revenue teams don't catch and then resend. They usually get paid the second time around in my experience. I work in government healthcare and we've seen firsthand how claims would be denied even when there was nothing wrong with them. We'd send them back and suddenly they'd be fixed. The system relies on the assumption that most companies won't double check. So they just pass the cost on to the patient. They get away with it by claiming they reevaluated the claim. In reality, they're incentivized to deny claims. Yeah. I mean, so many aspects of this. So many aspects of this is just like, is willingly making this process as complicated as possible and creating unnecessary hurdles that must not exist with the hopes that people don't actually turn around and fix it. And then they're left with the cost. They're left footing the bill. And for the record, you can still turn a profit without these fucking silly moves, you know? That's the worst part about this process is that, like, yes, profit margins do have a tendency to, or profit rates do have a tendency to decline. But having said that, you could still manage like some level of profit even under a capitalist structure. The issue is it's never enough. You have to consistently up the ante. You have to consistently churn out more and more profit. And that's precisely why there are so many, like millions of different ways in which these companies make everything shittier. The problem is twofold. On the victim side, on the recipient side, when it's more difficult, you end up sometimes just refusing to take the care on at all, knowing full well that you will get denied, and then you fucking die. You just decide to take the L. Some people decide to kill themselves. Others take the coverage and then are saddled with lifelong medical debt when the denial comes in. There are a million different stories like this. This is precisely the reason why there is so much anger towards both the systems and also the CEOs. Because the second part of the story is when you add these unnecessary hurdles that are specifically designed to improve profit margins for your shareholders, you get rewarded for it as the CEO. So the notion that the CEO is actually not responsible for this is idiotic because they're getting paid for it. They're directly being paid for it. They're being paid to hire the exact right guys that find new and creative ways of making this process more costly to the consumer. And what's really interesting about it is that if you yourself are not a healthcare CEO or a healthcare executive or someone who has like a tremendous amount of stocks, you know, if you're like a board of trustees guy for a fucking big healthcare industry company, why the fuck? Like, you're infinitely more likely to be fucked over by the healthcare system. Why would you ever defend this? It makes no sense. As a pharmacist who worked in retail, hospital, government, trade org, and now pharma industry, I can guarantee you it doesn't even matter the frequency of denials. It's even more critical and excruciatingly frustrating what they deny. Formularies are the lists of what gets covered and for how much. Formulary reform would be a temporary solution. Universal healthcare would be ideal. And for the record, this process is why healthcare is so costly in this country, because there's an unnecessary middleman who is not interested in lowering the cost at all, but actually carrying over whatever it can back to the consumer. As mediators, they do not argue against the pharmaceutical corporations. Sometimes they own the pharmaceutical corporations. So then they're doubling on the profits on the pharmaceutical side as well. Every aspect of for-profit healthcare is completely busted in this country. And the proof is in the data. That is precisely why the likes of Ben Shapiro and many other charlatans that try to defend this unjustifiable, parasitic system of for-profit care can only point to like random cherry-pick stats like America's #1 in brain cancer treatments. Okay, great. Look at our life expectancy, which of course is, there's a multitude of different factors that factor into this this number being so low in comparison to other OECD nations. But it's ridiculous that these people that are supposed to be facts-based, these people that are supposed to not care about the feelings, these people that are supposed to be logical thinkers, intellectual giants like Ben Shapiro or even Destiny, refuse to understand the broader picture. Now, with Ben Shapiro, I understand why he refused to reckon with the broader picture. His job requires him not to. He has to defend the structures. He has to defend capitalism. Sorry. To be clear, insurance companies do not own pharmaceutical manufacturers. Those entities are directly oppositional, but insurance companies do own pharmacies. Sorry. Pharmacy benefit managers and other healthcare services, thus creating a monopoly. Ben Shapiro is coming for Bill Burr, but we can't do that right now because we got to leave. I'm still waiting for someone to pull up, though, before we leave. And while we wait for that, let's take a look at the CNN coverage on the matter.
For them to be like, oh, this is like, why would anybody want to do this? It's like they're denying claims and people are dying.
So this is very common kind of armchair analysis. John, your eyebrow is like up to here. I mean, you can't tell me you haven't heard something like this in the last couple of days.
No, look, I mean, there's plenty of anger and frustration in insurance companies, but do not lionize murderers or elevate psychotic screeds into a manifesto. This is insane. Don't make a folk hero out of this cat.
I texted
he
Jason
assassinated a CEO going to a thing. And you got a problem with the way insurance companies do business. There are a lot of righteous ways to handle it within the legal structure.
And I think
we're playing a little bit footsie with elevating this cat, and he doesn't deserve it.
Do you think but he's not being elevated by any particular thing. It's like the general internet. There's one voice you can point to saying you're the one who's turned him into a hero.
I mean, there's plenty of voices. You can go on the internet right now and find all manner of people who are lionizing this person or fetishizing him sexually or so on and so forth.
But mainstream media. Like, I don't think the mainstream media is doing erotic fan fiction of this guy. Like, that is a thing that's happening.
Somebody who was trusted by the mainstream media just as soon as a few months ago, Taylor Lorenz was out there saying she felt joy when she heard about this. I mean, I agree with John. I think there's a culture in the United States right now that just doesn't, there's no respect for
there's no respect.
Laws. There's no respect for there's no respect for life. There's no respect for our cultural norms and and people believe that they should be able to take matters into their own hands. It's pretty ugly.
I think it works on always. I think it works on both sides. I think it works in this country in general. You said before we even got into this conversation, the internet is consistent. It's consistent with people who have things to say but really have nothing to say, and their opinions really don't matter. I think something's really interesting about, not even interesting. Did anybody see that movie, The Rainmaker? Did you guys ever see that movie back in the day, 1997?
One of these sort of lawyer, hero lawyer dramas.
John Grisham. And it was not necessarily similar to this, but the lawyer was Matt Damon, and he was suing a big insurance company because they kept denying a claim. And in this particular case, the young kid died, and he had cancer, but his mom kept trying to fight the big insurance company, and they won in the end. And I heard you earlier today say, just a moment ago, say, there are ways to go about this. For people who feel frustrated, and I'm not excusing Luigi at all, but I don't know if anyone feels like there are any legal ways to go about it. And I'm still unclear on what his actual motive is. He comes from this wealthy family. He had a back issue. We're hearing all of these different issues, and I'm like, what was he really trying to do and say? Not that we need to try to understand that.
That's my point. Is we're
where
trying
are we at with him? What's going on with him? Who is he really? He's 26 years old. He graduated from an Ivy League college. His family has money. What exactly was his real motive? And I don't want to make it seem like we are trying to lionize him as a hero.
I think that's kind of what we're walking up towards here, though, right? We're trying to say, what was really the motive behind this? Sometimes it's just, crazy as crazy does, but with a gun it gets worse. But there are right ways. We got a lot of issues in our country around corporations that don't seem to care about the little guy. We got a lot of issues with income inequality, but they're not solved by people writing manifestos, using a gun to murder a private citizen, and then all of a sudden people trying to get inside their head and figure out what the noble motive is or what particular thread he's pulling on the Unabomber's manifesto to make a consistent case against capitalism.
There's never an excuse for what he did, period. And I think when you see people online and in the media defending what he did as a result of their sentiment about large corporations, as a result of how they feel about the healthcare industry as a whole, I think that's a major problem. But it's not something that just started today. We've been seeing this go on, I think, for a very, very long time. And it's not the first time, and I'm sure Geraldo can speak to this, looking back to some of the cases from a decade or more ago, when we see people praise murderers, people like Jodi Arias, where they look at these murderers, they create fan clubs for them. And we're starting to see that already with Luigi Mangione being a physically attractive young man. And you see these women on TikTok and other places that are praising him because of what he looks like. And it's a lot of young women are posting that.
That's reasonable, I think. You want to dig the guy's six-pack, that's fine. But you fall into a trap when you get into the substance of his beef.
That's it.
Now he's succeeded. So now he's pulled us in. Now the focus is not on Luigi. It's on Thompson. It's on the victim and what the victim does and what the victim has done, with the deny and defund.
Do you think they should release his manifesto?
Oh, yeah, I don't mind.
Because some of the other shootings we've had in this country and other places,
yes.
we still don't know anything about the person who shot at Trump. We still don't know much about the person who committed that atrocity at the Christian school in Nashville. There's a lot of shootings.
The Las Vegas mass shooting we know nothing about.
There's a lot of things we are hidden from us. And then this guy, Geraldo, shoots, and we know more in 5 minutes about him than we know about all these other people. And I wonder why that is.
But the manifesto, remember, was released before we had the perpetrator. So you have the manifesto. That's how they got the Unabomber. The brother reads the manifesto, recognizes the brother's style of Harvard.
But there's a protocol generally.
John, hold on 1 second. Let me jump in here. I'm really glad you brought that up because David Kaczynski has been quoted. Someone reached out to him to say, how do you feel about this idea that he's alluding to your late brother's comments, and he basically said, it gives me a great deal of personal pain to think my brother's actions have in any way contributed to influencing a man like this to kill an innocent human being. I bring this up because I can't think of anything with kind of a longer legacy and tale on the dark corners of the internet than the Unabomber's manifesto, which many shooters across various political ideologies have cited or are in that world who still quote from it and still read it.
But there are people who take dark inspiration from Columbine. Look, generally there's a protocol around mass shootings, right? We just call them the shooter. Second of it, we don't publish the manifesto for reasons of elevation. Now, if manifestos are outlined, particularly in some mass shootings where there's something that's already out there, then, Yeah, you can read it, but you don't elevate it. You don't
But Scott just
dignify
made
it
a
and start
point where he
fetishizing
said, "How come there's ones we don't know?" And
Yeah.
you said it with this like kind of question mark, right?
I
And
mean,
it
usually
doesn't-
it's whether-
but
usually
whenever
it's whether
it
it's
doesn't
public or not.
feed
But there are
into the
things
idea.
about this story that feel very auspicious, and so people are attracted to it. I'm not saying that it's the media's fault. That's so easy. But everyone started, oh, wait, who was this guy? Is he attractive? He pulled down his mask. Everyone, there were all these little breadcrumbs, and it makes it feel like we're elevating this guy, but we're not.
Well,
this isn't a typical, and I don't want to say a typical shooting. I don't want to say anything like that. But this story, for whatever reasons, hit home for a lot of people, for better or for worse. We're not suggesting that this guy is great for what he did, but it just did. My best friend tells a story about when her father got dementia at the top of COVID. She had to literally fight tooth and nail day and night for weeks so that they would not deny his claim. So she's interested in it. People are interested because this is something that is happening. Not
It has
excusing
nothing to
it.
do with the assassination of
It
the
has
executive.
nothing to do with the assassination. We're not giving him substance, but we are talking about something that people are interested in. And if you can't deny the healthcare is an issue in this country.
I'm not denying that at all. I'm just saying that we're walking right up to the line.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult for people to start talking so heavily about healthcare now when 2 weeks ago nobody was doing that, or most people in the media weren't doing that. And so it feels a little bit difficult.
Because
I think.
Luigi has succeded.
Exactly.
Well, stop
It
calling
feels-
Luigi the shooter, right? You know, I mean,
They're
I
mad.
apologize.
Don't
Respect, but
humanize them.
Like, look, we should be talking. People
just
are
like
pissed
saying
off,
Luigi.
and who doesn't? In fairness, but people are really frustrated at the cost of insurance and how it adds to the affordability crisis in their daily lives. That's something we should be talking
But we
about.
shouldn't
a
wait
lot.
till someone gets
We can talk about
murdered to be talking about it. That's
yeah,
the problem I have.
and we.
We spent 3 whole days on healthcare before we even knew who the shooter was. They're being so deliberately obtuse when people started discussing this shit. It was minutes before. It was minutes after the shooting. Yeah. 100 P. 100 P. Luigi the Lion. Luigi the Adjuster. Someone is saying that AR loyals got deleted. I will admit, that is a pretty fucking solid first step in the right direction for Adin Ross. If he truly deleted his comms, his Twitter comm, that is one, a major W for everyone in this space. Okay. For those of you who don't know, AR Loyals is Adin Ross's Twitter community. It is infested with the most freak-like Nazis out there. It was. He already did that a year ago. They reformed very quickly somewhere else. They're like chemo-resistant cancer. They are very similar to they're very similar to 2 other content creators. One who still operates and weaponizes his community, Diddy G. The other who, I don't even know what has happened, but it's like super old school, Ice Poseidon. Yeah, it was one of the largest. Adin Ross released the largest streamer community on X for the second time this year. Fans are speculating this is a major move to get Adin unbanned on Twitch. Yeah, I think he wants to get unbanned on Twitch because he has nowhere else to go because he voluntarily left Kick. I don't know why. I don't know if he's actually mentioned why. But I mean, this is a good thing in general. You said Diddy G? Yeah, I'm talking about DGG, but I call him Diddy, like for P. Diddy. But yeah, I said that Adin Ross, the first step would be for him to purge his community if he wants to reform. I deleted my X community. I did this to try to change, adapt, and mature as one. Far more growth to do here, but we are heading in the right direction. Those who understand the change and healthy reasoning behind this, I appreciate it. I promise you I will focus on change. We'll see. I doubt it, but we'll see. Do you think Adin has the opportunity to reform? Everybody has the opportunity to reform. It's just a matter of whether it's genuine and well thought out. It's important to recognize like what people are doing. He leaned full tilt into the most insane right-wing shit. Okay, so here's the deal, okay? I'm going over to the gym. Jason is there already, Bradley's gym. We're going to live with Bradley. We're going to live with B-Dog.